Hi guys, it's Nikki Fogden-Moore here, the Mojo Maker, and welcome back to our little live for 5. It's probably going to go a little bit longer. If you don't already follow me on YouTube, please head over to Vitality Coach TV and come follow on Instagram. This live for 5 will also be on my Facebook group page. The links of that will be down below later, and as well as you can find this video at any time on YouTube because we always post back, or here on Instagram. Today's message is really about how to not take on board other people's stress. So if it's not you or someone else, usually towards the end of the month here in Australia, we're coming up towards the end of the financial year. We're actually in the middle of 2022, and you may be noticing that things are taking longer to come to fruition, or things that you thought were all organized are a little bit chaotic, and people are seemingly maybe starting to get a little bit stretched, overwhelmed, and stressed out. So today's message is all about how to understand the difference between your real stress and what you need to do and take care of your side of the street, and not take on board other people's energy, with grace and humility, all right? Because it's no point blaming or shaming anyone else. You can see when people are stressed out and trying to come up. So there is an expression that says, lack of planning on your part does not necessarily mean an emergency on my part, correct? So intentionally though, we have to be radically aware of all this kind of chaos in the world. So if you're waiting on something to come to fruition, if you're waiting on something to be confirmed, if you're dealing with other people and you feel like some scrambling energy, or things aren't working right, or that you're feeling kind of hypertensive at the moment, then here's 3 steps to help you chill out, ground yourself, and make sure that you're not taking on board other people's panic in times of uncertainty. The first thing is recognizing that there is always a solution. So have you taken care of your side of the street? It's really, really helpful to make sure that you run your days like a pro, which means for me, even I just take a piece of paper in the morning and I go, what's going to be the priorities for my day? I take 5 minutes just to regroup. I do that at the beginning and the end of every day. And if there's crucial things that I'm waiting for feedback on, instead of bringing in energy of panic or what's going on, I try and ground and say, where was that left off? Is there a deadline? And how can I handle this with a little bit of clear and clarity? So don't make emails a conversation either. They should just be a confirmation point. So what we tend to do is we tend to react to an email. So maybe you've been waiting something on your list to do for the day and it's not coming through and you're starting to panic. Instead of rattling off a whole big long email to someone and getting a story attached to why it hasn't happened or what the delay is, maybe just pick up the phone, or maybe send a message and say, hey, call me back, and try and alleviate the pressure to find out what's really going on, instead of sitting in your head and adding more and more stress to something you don't know the information on. And also, the second thing is, you don't know what's going on behind closed doors or in someone else's world, or what someone else's day is like, the productivity, the planning, the preparation, all the things that go into collaborating with someone or doing project work. Sometimes not everyone is as organized as you, or maybe you aren't organized. So your first step is to make sure that you have all your I's dotted and your T's crossed. So you've got your list ready and you know exactly where you stand and what information you need. The second step is to realize that you have no idea what someone else is doing as a part of that contact or that project or that contract or something else. So reach out and ask for an update in a nice way. And making sure that if that person comes back energetically with some kind of diversion, deflection, or blame, or whatever else, you don't have to take that on board. So just let people have their own energy without you trying to come in and fill the gaps and fix it, or necessarily take on that stress either. I call that owling. That means just observing the situation and not trying to rush in and fix it, not trying to defend a position, and just listen. And when you can actively listen or hold space, then you can allow the real facts and stats just to settle and for you to figure out a game plan. It's also tax time. So if you're in Australia at the moment and you haven't got your administration sorted, or maybe you're scrambling to get your numbers together and usually you're really afraid of tax, I suggest that you turn the attitude to cash flow around and you think about conscious cash flow. So if you are really wanting to improve your business and you find that finances and tax time and accountants and getting everything together is starting to stress you out and you need all this administration, slow everything down and reframe how you're thinking about the discussions around money, discussions around planning, discussions around tax, and just realize that it's part of adulting and it's part of running a business. The more you know and the more informed you are, the better a position you're going to be, with less stress and more planning ahead. So if you haven't got it perfectly right this time around, or if someone hasn't sent you something, try not to attach a negative energy to it or attach an extra story to it and say, hey, just a little friendly reminder, could you send me this XYZ? So the second part is remembering to stay super grounded and organized. And if someone else is in a panic, that does not have to be the energy that you have to sit there with them as well. And number 3, I think what's really important is someone has, invariably want to talk about how someone else hasn't delivered, or often it's really easy to blame someone else or to put projection onto why something hasn't happened. I always think humility is the very best result. So say, hey, listen, I'm really sorry I didn't get back to you in time, or I might have missed that email. I'm sorry for causing any inconvenience. What can we do next? You always want a solutions-oriented discussion rather than focusing on why something didn't happen and pointing the finger at someone else. Because there's an expression, if you point a finger at someone else, 3 fingers are pointing back at you. So that radical accountability to say, what could I have done better? Have we got everything we need? Are we organized? Do we need to be as stressed out as perceived in this situation? Is part of really stepping up and making sure that your emotional energy around those things is equally as important as the physical and materialistic energy that it takes to run a business, run your life, run friendships, run relationships, and all those other things. We tend to add stories onto everything, and we tend to make everything 10 times more complicated. So sit down, do your planning every day, in the morning and the evening. And that means everything from staffing to your personal well-being to things you've got to do for the kids or whatever it is. What are your priorities in the day? Are there areas that are starting to stress you out? Are there people that are starting to stress you out? Are they for real reasons, or is that just a perceived series of fear or a perceived things that could go wrong? It's really understanding what true stress really means and not sitting in a place of panic just because your body's used to thinking, I don't have all the information, so something bad's going to happen. And the third thing is never blame, shame, or guilt other people. I think sometimes we can do that just by default without even realizing it, because maybe we feel embarrassed or we didn't respond to something, or maybe we dropped a ball or whatever else. But there's something great about a really cool, hey, I'm so sorry, I completely missed that. How can we fix it? Or are you doing okay? I forgot to follow up. Or here's those invoices that you needed for tax. Is there anything else that you want? It's those kind of little loop backs that are really genuine and self-effacing and kind of completely real that endear people to you, because everyone else is in the same boat at the moment. We're trying to survive in a very, very uncertain world. We've got a huge amount of information that we're dealing with to navigate in every single way. We're trying to take care of others as well as ourselves. We're trying to think about planning for the future. We've got all these kind of extra things that are bombarded with us in social media, that we have to be healthy and fit and financially secure and sustainably successful and bubbly and energetic all the time. And these times, it's not always possible to hold your head high. But what you can do is remember to have radical awareness around making sure that you're not taking board stress, panic, blame and shame from other people. So taking care of your side of the street, getting grounded, is the most important thing you can do to make sure that you can navigate anything that's happening to you at that point, remembering there is always a solution. So the very simple way to get grounded if you are stressed out, or perhaps you're sitting behind your computer and you've got thousands of emails to go through and you think this is never ending, how am I going to do it? Maybe you've had an argument with your spouse, or I don't know, you're just feeling disconnected. The very easiest way to get grounded is actually just to take a deep breath and to start listening to your breath. That is the most cognitive way you can connect with yourself. It costs nothing. It happens in a microsecond, and it brings you back to being present. And when you're present, response, your conscious self knows that there's always a solution. Your conscious self is the quiet voice. It's the one that gives you the calm response going, hey, thanks for that information. Let me digest that and I'll get back to you. The subconscious, fear-based, stress-based thinking is, oh my God, this is going to be terrible. I've got to reply to this email. I've got to make 17 phone calls. I've got to do my tax return. I've got to organize this. Everything's a panic. And that's actually not the real reality. So coming into a grounded place when you feel stress, you feel other people's stress, is the most important thing you can do to move out of your subconscious fear-based thinking into conscious and grounded thinking. And that means that you can actually slow everything down as a cognitive effect and a cellular effect on your body. It slows down all those pesky sort of stress-related things that get released through your cells that limit the oxygenation in your blood, and they don't make you think straight because you're thinking a million things per hour. That's not how you want to be. So you want to take a little bit of a leaf out of the Buddhist book, which is getting nice and calm and clear. And if you're a leader or you're a parent or you're a friend or a spouse and you're going through something at the moment and you feel incredibly overwhelmed, the first thing you do is you put your oxygen mask on first. So you must slow everything down, take a deep breath, and assess, is this really a real threat or is it a perceived threat? What can I do to shift through from chaos to calm and make sure that I'm not taking on the stress of the landscape, the people, and the situation around me? And when you get into that state, you can make radically informed decisions and make sure that you're taking care of your side of the street. So if you've stayed with me through this, where we had some phone calls come through as usual, usually it's the leaf blower in the background, thank you so much for joining. If you've got specific questions as well, please drop them in the comments. Most importantly, it's up to you to navigate this crazy world that we're in. So there's so much information on mindfulness. There's so much information on, making sure that you're in a high state for performance. What's really important is that you stay connected to what's right for you at any given time, and you keep yourself in a situation where you're not taking on board the stressed out or the projected energy of others. And it's just part of self-mastery. It takes some practice and it takes a radical awareness to realize when you're being pulled off track, but that's where the beauty lies. So wherever you are listening to this, whenever you're listening to this, remember that you're in the driver's seat of life. Use these opportunities to actually go, I notice that I'm constantly afraid of certain emails coming in about stuff. Or if I see a name come up on my phone, I start panicking. Or I've got a really kind of weird energy with that person. It never kind of flows. Just start observing what works and what doesn't without any judgment or projection. And then start understanding that you're always going to find the solution, but stop trying to force one and don't take on other people's lack of planning to be your emergency. If you've got more questions and you want to hear more on this little Live for Fives, I'm Nikki Fogden-Moore. Don't forget Radical Self-Belief, Fitpreneur and Vitality. The 3 books are all available on my website, nikkifogdenmoore.com. They all come with doing worksheets, so stacks of facts and information to help you navigate anything from chaos to calm, fitness to well-being, and of course, sustainable success. I hope you like this. Thank you for bearing with me through some of our technology interruptions as well. And I hope today you just have a smile on your face, because every day we get up is a chance to do something radical. And you've just got to start trusting yourself, backing yourself, and understanding what's really important. And sometimes we have to work day by day and really lining what that really looks like and making sure that, we're not pulled off track by everyone else's panicked mentality, because you've got to know that you actually probably have a lot of experience. You probably need to trust your judgment. You probably need to come more from the heart and less from the head. And if you're going through tax time at the moment in Australia, you're running a small business, always get good advice. Never be afraid of your numbers, and also plan ahead. And it will really set you up for a fantastic next financial year as well. I'm Nikki Fogden-Moore, the Mojo Maker. Here's a tiny thing to talk about how you can not take on board the stress of others, get grounded really, really quickly, and help stay in the driver's seat no matter what the landscape around you. Stay healthy, wealthy, and wise. Until next time, thanks very much for joining me here on Instagram for a Live for 5.